What is up, everybody? This is Josh Schiffman here from JS 9 Innings Media. This is the fourth episode of the JS 9 Innings podcast. Today, I'm joined by my co-host Ian Moore. Ian, say hello to everybody.
What's up, everybody? It's a pleasure to be back on.
And we have a very special guest here today. We have athletics closer Mason Miller. Mason, how are you doing, man?
Doing well, fellas. Appreciate y'all having me.
It means a lot to have you on. That you're the first current MLB player we've had on the show. You're actually the second Miller we've had. We had a former MLB player. We had a former MLB player, Ian Miller, on play for the Twins and the Cubs. So it's an honor to have you on. And someone like you, an All-Star last year. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, happy to kind of kick things off for you here. Hopefully, first of many. So,
Means a lot. So I want to ask, what's it like to be a Major League Baseball player? I mean, for me and Ian, we grew up. It would have been a dream to be in MLB, right? We grew up at a young age. I'm a Dodgers fan. Ian's a Yankees fan. We would love to play for those teams. Baseball didn't work out, but what's it like to just be in the MLB?
it's awesome, man. You said it. It's a dream. I would assume that probably 95% of guys that grew up and had that dream at one point or another. Like anybody, you go through phases of life, and it's more realistic the whole way for some, and for others, it's kind of off the beaten path. So, yeah, just getting the opportunity to go play the game we love every day is a blessing that I remind myself all the time that I'm extremely blessed to be in the position I am and get the opportunity to play the game I love as a job. So yeah, man, it's a dream is the best way to put it.
Were there any players you grew up watching that made you like fall in love with the sport at a young age?
I was a Pirate fan growing up, so we didn't have like, a lot of seasons that really made me fall in love with the game. But, I just enjoyed going down to the park and, growing up watching, when I was younger, Jack Wilson, who now I'm teammates with his son, which is pretty, pretty awesome. But, yeah, it's just a bunch of guys, Andrew McCutchen, Garrett Cole, guys like that were stars, and McCutchen ended up leaving for a little bit. Now he's found his way back, but just guys that embody the city and put on a great show in that amazing ballpark that is PNC Park.
That's awesome. I want to ask, so you played Division III baseball at Waynesburg University, and you were throwing under 90 miles an hour at one point, right?
Correct.
And you jumped that up to over 100, and then you transferred to D1 to a D1 school, Gardner Webb University. What how are you able to increase your your fastball miles per hour so quickly and from over 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, I mean, largely it came from getting healthy and being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. That was the primary driver. But I mean, for everybody else looking in, it seems like, it happened really, really fast. But, for me, I established a lot of good habits. And really the frustrating part before my diagnosis was I felt like I was doing everything right, doing everything that I could to become a better pitcher, and really no results were showing up. So I think once I got the diagnosis and got healthy and started taking care of my body the way it needed to be from a nutrition standpoint, just in relation to my diabetes, I think that kind of took off. But like I said, I had the habits of a player that was actively working to get better. So kind of having that groundwork already laid kind of let me hit the ground running. But, it's been incremental, year over year, 2019, 2020, 21. I didn't just kind of wake up and start throwing 100 either. I left Waynesburg probably throwing around 95, um, added some more velocity at Gardner Webb, and continued to do so as I joined the A's organization. So it's been brick by brick, and I think a lot of people might look at my story and look at like I found some gold in the pan, and I just kind of everything lined up and it happened. And there's surely some truth to that, but I think also just the work ethic and habits I created over the course of my college career kind of laid the groundwork to put me in this position.
And with your diagnosis, was there any doubt with possible maybe future career? You didn't know if baseball would work out or
Yeah, man. I mean, I really had no idea. When I got diagnosed in the hospital, I was kind of laying in the hospital bed, like I had no idea what my life's really going to look like. Partially just because I didn't really have much awareness of type 1 diabetes at all. Obviously everybody knows a family member or something like that that has diabetes, and usually it's type 2 later on in life. So you kind of associate it with diet, physical activity, and kind of look at it as, a little bit hereditary, but a lot of lifestyle based. And I thought I was a healthy kid that, I really didn't expect anything like that to happen. So when it did, it's kind of like that initial shock factor. But I ended up only being in the hospital for about 3 days and then kind of got back to everything I was doing pretty quickly. So it's definitely encouraging. And I think the more you do, the faster it is that you learn, what you can and can't do. And I really haven't found anything outside of some sweets and stuff that I kind of have to stay away from. But besides that, everything I would like to do and would be doing normally, I think I am.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I think it's pretty insightful, right? Like you're talking about you're creating a huge platform for a lot of people out there who maybe feel like they can't necessarily accomplish that or they can't do it, and you're really putting a huge, breaking point at the cornerstone of like all these people might come together now and really feel like this is a huge effective group. They can push past trial tribulation. If you work really hard at something, you can, like truly go out and get it. And kind of like where I want to like segue into with that is like if you could share a little bit with us about maybe your off-season prep, like how are you really staying in your best shape, keeping up with your physique, everything like that, and kind of like pushing past a little bit of the type 1 diabetes, like what does your off-season regimen really detail?
For sure. Yeah. I think what I love about the off season is that, you compete all year against the guy in the box. And, everybody in the big leagues is a, high level competitor. So the off season kind of switches, and it's like, you can train with other guys, but really at the end of the day, you're kind of just competing against yourself. And I think the people that make the biggest gains in the off season are those guys that have, the ability to really compete against themselves, the places that they've been, the things they've done. What am I going to change? What am I going to try to do better? Like, what areas am I going to push myself that I really haven't gotten to in previous years? So I think I enjoy the off season a lot. I train 4 days a week in the gym. I'm throwing. We just started throwing bullpens this past week. But yeah, around this time of year is usually when you start getting the itch to, really get back to competing against other guys. You've been going at it with yourself for 3 months here, and now it's starting to feel like time to put it to the test when you get a guy in the box.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I feel like maybe I've got a little bit of a different perspective because obviously I'm not in the majors or anything like that, but kind of like what's the check-in process from the A's perspective about, season wraps up, you're kind of finishing things off. Do they stay in pretty close contact with you to make sure that you're keeping up with a certain regimen, or is it kind of on you? Like, do you feel like you have some independent coaching or independent counsel outside of that that kind of they do like a check-in almost like as an intermediary? Like what's the process for you like?
Yeah, usually as the season's wrapping up, you'll have kind of some end of year meetings with GM coaches, kind of just talk about the year as a whole, the things you did well, the things that you can get better at, and kind of what they're looking for you to come into camp. It's kind of a hands off, like, everybody goes home, goes to different parts of the country, and there's only so much you can do to really kind of check in on guys. Obviously there's guidelines of things you got to hit with health and kind of just overall training. And I think really at the end of the day, they're kind of tailored the training regiments. And I assume this is with other teams too, that, each guy's different. So it's kind of like you learn your body year over year and you know what works, what doesn't. So the framework of a training program is pretty simple, pretty elementary. You're going to hit your legs, you're going to hit your upper, you're going to find different ways to be explosive, but really it's just about finding, what works for you. So a lot of guys, it's kind of like you go back, a lot of people have people at home, people they've trained with, etc. But yeah, it's kind of just basic check-ins, and then as long as you're doing something, they're happy with it. And when you come to camp, it's like it's your career. So if you left in a certain place and you come back in the same place or worse, like that's kind of on you. Everybody's an adult, and we're not having people hold our hands to get to the places we want to be.
Right.
So really, like I said, competing against yourself, it kind of it shows you who has that side of them in them when they come into camp, and it looks like they're a different guy. versus somebody that comes in and it almost looks like they've regressed a little bit. So that's kind of just the challenge of the off season. There's no way to really micromanage it from afar. So it's just as long as everybody's trying to get the most out of the time, I think they're satisfied with that.
And then if you can kind of speak to like I feel like we'd be hitting a huge age group out there for those people that are college ball players that obviously listen in on a lot of Josh's content and stuff like that. What was the scale up process as far as training regimen from college into the majors? Where do you feel like things really took you?
I mean, the higher levels you get to, the more individualized you can make things, partially just because as an athlete, you've learned so much about yourself. In a lot of ways, through high school and college, a lot of people are still kind of exploring different training methods, different experience, different access to things. I think they've kind of gotten to the point now where, through places like Tread and Driveline, that even kids in high school really are watching content like that and learning stuff, whether or not they're doing the program themselves. So I think it's just about the scalability of it and what you want to get out of it. Is it add velocity? Is it refining, your pitch mix? So I just think that there's a lot of opportunity out there. You just kind of have to be honest with yourself about what your capabilities are and what's going to most benefit you in your short time that as a high school athlete, you're going to play sports throughout most of the year. So you get a short period of time where like it's your off season, kind of the same with college. You'll pitch into November, a lot of places, and then you'll have your first games in February. So, that 6, 7 weeks of, Christmas break or dead time is, an opportunity for you to get better where a lot of guys might not be doing that. It's, they've worked all year and they're like, I'm just going to take a blow, get back after it in January. So, it's kind of like balancing that. How much should I rest? How much should I push? Different periods of time where you have the flexibility to kind of create a program for yourself is a lot of times I think the most important and most telling about a player's future.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Sure. Can I ask when you go to Arizona for spring training?
We have physicals the 11th of February, so I'll be down there probably a couple of days before that. But we'll do probably like 45 days, I think is what it works out to be. Pitchers and catchers report a week early, obviously. But yeah, our workouts will start the 12th, and then I think we get out of Arizona around March 24th.
I'm very excited for some baseball. I need it off season.
Yeah, ditto, ditto.
You and me both, guys.
I'll watch the spring training games in my classes. I have to, but
Yeah.
um, no, that so what's it like to be surrounded by guys like Brent Rooker, Lawrence Butler? Now you have Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs. What's it like to have those guys in your clubhouse now? Or
I
those
think we have an awesome group, man. I mean, really, it's through the last couple of years that we've gone through. I think for the way that we've come through it and the guys we have, the relationships we have within the clubhouse, I think that's all you can ask for. And I think we're primed for another step forward this season. Obviously, you love to see guys like Brent getting paid, bringing in guys that are going to really help us in Springs and Severino. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement around our team. I think both inside and outside. Obviously there's always outside stuff that, we have to deal with, but from a on the field baseball perspective, I think that a lot of us are probably really excited for this upcoming season. And compared to previous seasons, I think there's a different kind of smell in the air, especially for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think this year it's a very different A's team than last year, the year before. I think it's similar. It could be similar to the 2018 A's, where the last time they made the playoffs was in 2014 before that. And then they traded Cespedes and all their guys, and then they didn't make the playoffs for a few years, and they came out of nowhere and made the playoffs. They made the wild card game where they faced the Yankees and they lost. But I think the A's have a lot of I think they have a lot of potential this year, and I'm very excited to watch them.
Yeah, I agree. We talk about, that jump from 2017 to 2018 a lot. But yeah, it's having the expectation that, we're going to compete at a high level each and every day. I think that's the biggest difference from, what we've seen these past couple of years is we've built this group of guys that, have confidence at the plate, confidence on the mound, know that you can do it at the big league level. And I think that we have a lot of guys that are ready to take that next step. So it's just maintaining that, synchronization between the guys and continuing to build a good culture in the clubhouse that, kind of takes us to that next level.
And it's good now that you have someone like Severino who has playoff experience. He pitched for the Mets last year in the playoffs, pitched against the Phillies and the Dodgers. So I mean, I'm sure you could probably learn a lot from him. He can learn from you. I'm sure every many other pitchers on your team can learn from him. So having someone like him, also having someone like Springs, I think it could really bolster the A's pitching. And I'm
Yeah, and
excited.
speak to Severino too, right? Former Yankee as well. He's got plenty of experience against other AL teams, so also in the postseason level, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you are excited anytime that you get a guy that has the type of experience he does. I kind of go about it that, every guy that's in that locker room, especially during spring training with such a big group, there's something to be learned from each player, whether they've had, a longer career than you, a shorter career than you, more success, less success. Kind of just always trying to take something from somebody. That's I think the best way to go about it. There's guys like Severino that obviously have, way more to share and way more to, help guys, if they choose to do so. So I think his willingness to join a team like ours shows that, he's definitely invested in what we got going on, and also the fact that he's willing to help guys that, are kind of breaking into the league and looking to establish themselves a little bit just with his pedigree and everything that he's done in his career.
No, absolutely. I mean, kind of speak to our audience a little bit about, from outsiders looking in, like what does that mentorship process really entail inside the clubhouse as far as, a little bit more seasoned veteran guys possibly taking on that mentor role, helping out the younger guys. Like I view you as a very like safe and sure, young, solid investment. If I was thinking about like the opportunity you've got in front of you, like only 26 years old, obviously like 4.4 Ks per nine in 55 games with a boatload of saves. Even though you're 26, I'd say in the baseball standpoint of things, fairly young, right? Severino's coming in. Yeah, I think he's a lot older. So kind of how does that mentorship role really like figure into helping out the youth culture?
Yeah, I think the overall kind of look I have on it is, you know, as you get older, you learn more, but baseball is always a game of adaptation, season to season, week to week, month to month. You see guys who kind of riding the wave through the season. So it's all about how you can get back to, doing what you do best quickly when you go through down spells. And I think a guy like that that's been through, injuries, been through ups and downs, long sustained periods of success, periods of struggles, just the things that you learn through that, and just being able to talk to a guy that's struggling and say like, hey, I've been where you are. These are some things that help me kind of right the ship and get back to where I am. But really, I mean, everybody in that clubhouse is kind of a sounding board for guys. We spend so much time together that you talk about your successes and what feels good. You talk about your failures and what isn't going so well for you. And it's just having guys around you that not only can just hold you accountable, but also pick you up when you're struggling a little bit. So just knowing you have a group like that kind of behind you is sometimes all you need.
That's
No,
excellent.
well said.
And I'm sure a lot of your teammates can learn from you. I mean, you made the All-Star game last year, first time All-Star. I'm sure that's a really big achievement for yourself. Uh,
Definitely.
you struck out Otani in the All-Star game. You struck out Trey Turner. You threw a 103.6 mile an hour fastball in that game. Um, what what were you thinking when you struck out Otani? Are you like, wow, like I just did that?
Well, I think he already got his home run out of the way, so definitely were thinking about that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have a plan for guys, especially like that. We see highlights of guys all the time, and you have a plan, and just all you can ask for, no matter who's in the box, is have a plan and execute it. And I kind of executed my plan to perfection against him. A couple heaters down the way, where I don't feel like I'm really going to get hurt, and then that's perfect tunnel for a slider down in, and I just followed my plan, and in an atmosphere like that, pitching against the greatest star in the game is really surreal to just have that experience. 2 years into my major league career.
I mean, what's it like the come to earth moment? Do you have that at all, or do you still feel like you're up in the clouds about that?
I mean, every time you go out to the mound, each day's a new day. Everything you've done beforehand doesn't matter anymore. It's all about that moment now. So I think staying grounded is something that I pride myself on, and kind of appreciating moments like that for what they are, but also knowing that that doesn't mean squat. When I go back out the next time. So the end of the season, you take a couple weeks, kind of reflect on everything that you've accomplished that year and appreciated it. But I got back in the gym, and I'm not thinking about my successes. I'm thinking about the times I came up short and what I'm going to do this offseason to prepare myself to not come up short like that again in this coming season.
I have a lot of respect for that. It's a very good mindset, and it shows that you really just you want to win, be better, and maybe the A's make a playoff run. We'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. I mean, we're going to be working our tails off to do just that.
That would be great. And I want to go back to the All-Star game. So you mentioned that you were a Pirates fan growing up. Um, Garrett Cole was all, or actually, I don't think he was an All-Star because he was injured for half of the year. But I wanted to ask, like, what's it like seeing let's I know Garrett Cole wasn't there, but what's it like seeing veteran guys at the All-Star game, guys you've grown up watching, even like someone like Freddie Freeman, who I mean, walk-off grand slam. I know the All-Star game was before that, but I mean, a guy who has so much history in the game, someone like Mookie Betts as well. What's it like being surrounded by those guys?
Yeah, that's one of those moments where you look around and you're like, is this really, am I really, really belonging on the same field as these guys? 'Cause we watched them for so many years, achieve greatness and year in and year out, be one of the elite competitors, elite players in the game. So to find yourself in a moment like that, being honored at the All-Star game and everything, I just really, really appreciate that for what it is. And, there's not, I think after 2 years, I have a sense of like I belong, and I've had the success that kind of goes along with that too. But being in a field like that, sharing a locker room with those guys, really surreal for everything that took to get there. And then also just I think I might have had the most fun out of anybody there, just enjoying like the Derby, everything that led up into it, and a lot of these other guys, they can't even count on a hand how many times they've been there. So just you only get to do it the first time once. So really just appreciating that for what it is, and loving every single moment of it.
Which
No, absolutely.
player were you most excited to meet at the All-Star game?
I mean, it's like everywhere you turn, man, there's somebody that you've admired, somebody that has been in the game for a while, or is really just enjoying success in the same way that I am. But yeah, I mean, meeting Aaron Judge in the locker room was awesome. Just awesome guy, and you hear so much about different guys around the league, and there's so many good people within the game of baseball. It's an awesome network of guys, and just getting a chance to meet with them, eat, talk, kind of just build a little bit of a relationship as you continue in this game is awesome.
That's cool to hear. I know Ian's a Yankees fan, so he's a very
Big time. Big time. That's a very, I can only imagine. I mean, I saw the clip the other day of Joe Buck going into the locker room for the All-Star game when Jeter was like, dude, what are you doing here? Like Jeter was my guy growing up, like Jeter, Rodriguez, like all those guys. So, I can only imagine obviously seeing Aaron Judge in person. I should actually say I can only imagine like seeing Aaron Judge in person. I don't know how tall you are, but I know that Aaron Judge is he's freaking huge. So what was it? What was it
Yeah.
like actually going like face to face with him?
Well, I mean, he's a extremely large human being. So obviously, I was looking up to him. I mean, I'm 6'5", so I almost like you watch games and you look so huge that you kind of almost make it out like he's 7 foot tall. But definitely a huge dude. And I was looking up when I talked to him, which isn't super common for me. But at the same time, it's I'm a big guy too, so it turned out like when you get on the field or you get in the same space as them, and I think that's probably the way for some people too, where you watch people on TV and stuff, and they look like these enormous people, and then you get around them, and some guys are like average height, average build, like they're just extremely good at baseball. So kind of
Yeah,
just feeling that human nature of it and getting in the same space, breathing the same air, and walking around the same way. It's kind of a
100%.
cool feeling for sure.
And I know that Josh, you said obviously like I'm a Yankees fan and whatnot, so Judge to me is pretty cool. But like, how about shout out to you when we were at a Yankees game and Judge threw you a ball in the outfield and you made a pretty sick snag on that.
Yeah, we went to I think it was Twins Yankees. It was like early June this year, and Judge, I just put my hands up. We were sitting in the second deck, and he saw me, pointed, threw it, and I somehow caught it. Nearly fell. Ian had to like hold me up,
Yeah, I held you up.
but no, that was pretty cool. I mean, someone like Aaron Judge throwing you a ball, getting a ball alone is like surreal moment, but for it to be Aaron Judge, like wow, it's something.
Mason, I was also there when you guys came into town to play them. I was there for the series when the A's came in. Um, I remember taking the train up because I live in Manhattan, and so I took the 4 train right in. Got there day after work, and that's one of the most fun times I ever had because stadium had a good vibe about it. Like sun was just about setting. That's when those like night games come into play. Weather's pretty beautiful. You didn't come in the game that I was there, but I saw them play, so it was cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, that time of year when the weather starts warming up, it's still that cool air, but you're really getting excited for baseball in April, that's for sure. I mean, obviously it's already there, but the
Yeah.
baseball you look at as the summer sport. So kind of as you're getting to the summer, school's getting out. That's my favorite time of the year for sure.
It's
I,
usually a time of the year that I like. It's usually a time of the year my team seems to slump a little bit, but I think they'll hopefully get through with a little bit better, less of a dry spell going into the summer this upcoming year, hopefully.
Yeah,
But
man. I mean, you can't be too disappointed. Obviously, you go all the way. You'd like
no,
to win it all, but just
exactly.
having a season like that's awesome as a fan for sure.
Yeah, Josh sitting on the other side of that is loving every bit of that. So
but
Yeah, well, hard not to in his shoes, that's for sure.
um, what's your favorite stadium that you've visited in your career?
Well, I'm waiting to go to PNC Park because that's going to take the cake for me. But I guess kind of uniquely since I haven't been there yet. I enjoyed Atlanta a lot. I think for a player, it's so much about the atmosphere. The fans, the energy, just like the feel when you're on the field. And then obviously playing at Wrigley and Fenway and historic parks like that is super amazing. Knowing that that field is where so many great moments in the sport have happened over, so many years. So I've enjoyed those, and the atmosphere really is what does it for me. So that'd probably be why I lean to Atlanta.
That's awesome. Can I ask, have you ever had any interactions with Clayton Kershaw? I'm a diehard Clayton Kershaw fan, so just curious, maybe if you two have crossed paths before.
Not yet. I mean, hopefully he sticks around. So I think he was on the IL when they came to us this year, and then 2 years ago when we went to LA, I was on the IL. So hopefully this is the year. I would assume that they're looking to sign him back. I can't picture him in any other uniform, but
neither can I.
Uh,
yeah.
I
So
would be my childhood would be over if he's not on the team. But so
You
like
know he'd retire before he ever played for another team. There'd be no way that that would ever happen. I kind of like you just said, Mason. I can't really see him being anywhere else. That would seem silly to me.
um I want to talk about your MLB debut. So you started that game and your first strikeout came off of Cody Bellinger, former MVP. Um, when that happened, does that like set the tone? You're like, all right, I just struck out Bellinger. I feel good about this game. Like I'm making a good impression to start my career. What goes through your mind when that happens?
I mean, I think for everybody, when you get called up, you kind of just want to get that first one out of the way. And then once it's out of the way, everybody kind of remembers who the first guy was, home run, first hit, first strikeout, etc. So to have it against somebody like that with his pedigree and, the success he's had in the game is pretty cool to be able to reflect on that, really the rest of my life that was my first strikeout. But kind of like during the moment, I mean, I struck the side out that inning. So that was probably more what I remember. But yeah, being able to talk and other guys are like, "Who was your first strikeout?" And I can say Cody Bellinger is pretty cool, versus some guys that don't have somebody that was a former MVP as their first guy. So
And it must be pretty cool when you go from the minor leagues where there's maybe not as many fans in the stands, and then you go to the major leagues, and if you go to like Dodger Stadium, Yankee Stadium, like it's all just it's a sellout. And
Mhm.
other stadiums as well. It must be pretty cool experience as a player.
Yeah, man. I mean, you get that feeling as soon as you get on a big league field for your debut, but really there's also, you go someplace on the road if you debuted at home and, it's like, man, this is really what, I dreamed of. I feel like, when you get in an atmosphere like that, it's like, yeah, this is the big leagues. It feels like the big leagues, my heart's pounding a little louder, sweating a little more. Like, that's kind of the moments you live for.
Have you had like, any like funny like fan interactions or someone like heckling or anything like that in your career?
This year in Detroit, this was like the second week of the season, I think. So I was still not somebody that a lot of fans knew about, I don't think. So we're in Detroit, and Foley was going into the game. He throws 100 as well. Some fan was like, I was getting ready to warm up or something, and he said, Foley throws 102. How hard do you throw? And I wanted to tell him, but I ended up going in the game, so he found out. But that was probably the funniest one this year. It's a lot of stuff like I'm not a guy that, I'll talk to fans before the game and stuff, but I'm not trying to be like mixing it up during the game or anything. I think that's a little distracting. And then once they know you hear them, then they keep coming harder. So I just thought that was a funny one there. I got the chance to get in the game, so I kind of got to do my thing and let that do the talking.
And you said that maybe didn't know who you were then. I mean, by in May last year, you had a negative FIP, which is just unheard of. I think in mid-May your FIP was like negative, or it was like negative 0.14 or something, which is insane. Like how do you do that?
That's all I'm trying to do is get back to that, man. I mean, I gave up a couple runs in my first outing of the season, and then I went on like a crazy stretch where I think I went like 18 innings scoreless or something like that. So when you're not giving up runs, the number just keeps going down. But yeah, it's a good foundation for me kind of going into the season. Like, a lot of guys maybe struggle out of the gate or, so, and then you hit your stride and have an awesome 6 weeks in the middle of the year versus, having that 6 weeks at the beginning of the year just kind of set me up to have that confidence throughout the season. Even through a little rough patch here and there, it's like, I was that guy, for a 6 week stretch at the beginning of the year. Like I don't have to do anything extra, like just be myself and, continue to go and do what I had success with them.
And was it always the mentality that you had when you were, I'm going to say growing up, but growing up can be symbolic of elementary, middle, high school, like whole thing, college included. Was it always the mentality that you had that closing games is what you wanted to do? Like you wanted to be the showstopper and you wanted to go in and kind of like put that final nail in the coffin? Or were you, I mean, I know in like from my experience back in like middle school ball, like everybody's kind of like a utility player to like some effect. Like I imagine that you probably started games probably pretty early on and then maybe moved into a relief type of thing, but kind of elaborate on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. I mean, I started games pretty much through high school, and I had a couple relief outings in college, but for the large part, I've been a starter. And I mean, getting the ball at the end of the game, it's everything's on the line. Tensions are the highest, especially in a close game. So if you're a true competitor, which I view myself as, you kind of crave moments like that. Whether it's you go in a complete game just to get to that inning. But just like putting that final nail in the coffin and bringing a win home for the boys is really what you want to do, and you want to be in that
It's
spot. I
big.
think if you're that guy, then I think you love to pitch in moments like that.
Oh, for sure. That if any athlete, I think it goes for any sport. Whether it's basketball, you want to take the final shot. Football, tie game, maybe you're Brady and you want to throw for the game-winning touchdown. Baseball, even like Freddie Freeman's situation, dream situation, and bases loaded, and you hit a walk-off grand slam, or even if you're a pitcher, say let's say it's the same score and you strike out Freeman. Let's say Nestor Cortez struck out Freeman there. I mean that's the moments you really live for in sports. And I think anyone who, if you're a competitor, you want to be in those positions. And I'm sure in your career, you're going to have some moments like that where you're in a very big situation. Maybe the playoffs coming up, maybe this year, hopefully in the future, and you find yourself in a situation and you succeed.
Yeah, bring it on, man. I'm ready. That's for sure.
That's the kind of attitude that I know the A's are going to appreciate, without a doubt.
Yeah, I think that's why I've been able to have success in that role. Really, it's still pitching. You're still trying to get a guy out, execute pitches, etc. So if you break it down to that, it's like there's not that much different. It's just the mentality shift of, I'm not trying to get through a lineup three times. I'm just trying to get three guys out. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to, be super clean, super down in. Like just get three outs and you did your job.
And how, like, as a pitcher, when maybe things don't go the right way, you can see other pitchers, they lose confidence and maybe they don't trust their stuff. How do you stay on top of everything and make sure you have like a good mindset and you're making sure you're 100% to go into every pitching outing?
Yeah, I mean, the same way that, if you had a great outing, when you get back on the mound, it doesn't matter. And, it's all about this one today. It's the same thing applies on a bad one. You're almost more hungry to get back out there after a bad one because that you didn't pitch to the best of your ability most of the time. Sometimes you tip your hat, a hitter beat you, but a lot of times it's I didn't execute this pitch or I didn't put myself in a good count, things like that. So. Like I said, as a high level competitor, you want to get back on the horse. You don't want to be the guy that's down there like, please don't be me. You always want to have the ball no matter, what kind of stretch you're on. It just puts you in a bad spot if you don't want the ball.
Yeah. No,
How do
that's
you find that in your preparation process, you really keep that focus week to week? Because obviously, like, I'm gonna go based on what I've seen from like the Yankees. It seemed like their bullpen this year, like they had a lot of success, but they kept guys, I would say, a lot more active than they usually tend to do. And I definitely know that the A's kept you pretty much like right up on deck whenever they could. Obviously, you had a reliable arm for them. So, like, what's the process like preparing every single week with keeping that focus, knowing that you might wind up going in and closing against the same team in a series more than one time?
Yeah, man, you just fall in love with the process. I think baseball players are habitual creatures. We like to eat the same thing. We like to shower at the same time. Like everybody has these different routines that, it's just finding that sense of calm throughout your day where, you're not wondering what's next. It's like, I know what's next. I know what I have to do, whether you have success or you don't have success. It's like as long as I prepared to the best of my ability and did everything that I needed to do beforehand to put myself in the best position to succeed. Then you can look at yourself in the mirror afterwards and say, I gave it all I had. That's the beauty and the curse of the game is sometimes you do everything right and it doesn't work out, and you can sit there searching and wondering like what if, but the best thing you need to do is just get back on your routine and get ready for the next one. So I think that's the beauty of it, just establishing a good routine, something that you can lean on, something that kind of drives you day to day. No matter what level you're at, I think that's beneficial.
and I would think as a relief pitcher that maybe preparing for a game, maybe it could be a little harder than as a starter because I mean, for starters, you don't pitch every day, but as a relief pitcher, maybe you pitch back to back games. Maybe the recovery process could be different. And how do you stay on top of that? Like, let's say you pitch back to back games. How do you stay focused? How do you stay healthy? And how do you make sure you're ready to go whenever your team just or whenever the A's call on you to pitch?
It's all in the preparation. If you're trying to find something to make your arm feel good, like after the fact, you're kind of already too late. Obviously you're going to be sore. Pitching back-to-back days is a brutal task for the body. You see guys pitch sometimes 3 days in a row too. It's kind of just all these different variables that go into, how your body's going to feel. Like, at what point of the year is it? what was the weather like? What was the inning like? Did I throw 30 pitches? Did I throw 10 pitches? It's not like well, I pitched today. Everything's different. Your body needs different things. Sometimes it's get in the gym and, move and flush the body out. Sometimes it's, hey, I've just gone, everything I had for 2 days in a row. Like I need to take a day, let my body recover. Obviously staying on top of your hydration and everything is huge, but just kind of finding different things that work for you and what makes you feel good, what puts you in the best position to be available that day. That's got to be your mentality in the bullpen. I think people will say like your best ability is your availability. So I think that's super true, especially in a season where you got 8 guys down there that have to cover all these innings. It's a long season, so it's a not an easy undertaking, but kind of the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And like I said, once you have that routine, it's just leaning into that.
I apologize for that. My parents have home phones and it went off. I apologize for that.
No worries. I didn't even hear it, bro.
Yeah, you were good. You were good with the mute.
I, I muted my mic immediately. But no, that's pretty cool. And my next thing I want to ask is, so obviously you threw the last pitch at the Coliseum this year. What was that game like? I mean, that game was sold out. It was a very meaningful game to the fans. You and your teammates were a part of history. The last game to be played at the Coliseum. What was that day like? Because it had a lot of anticipation going into it.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, there was a huge build up to it. We all knew it was coming throughout the season, and as it kind of got closer, it started to feel more and more real. But just that day itself, just feeling, the emotion kind of in the building, everybody knew kind of what the stakes were and what was going on. And, we wanted nothing more than to give the fans a win in that final game. And obviously we feel for them and everything that they've gone through the process. So we were just happy to, have the opportunity to compete in front of them, put on a show and ultimately get the win.
I like at the end after you got the final out, you pointed to your shirt, pointing to Oakland, giving the fans one last moment. So that was, I mean, that will forever go into baseball history, and that's a very big moment there.
Yeah, a lot of respect, Mason, for that.
Yeah,
A
man. I
ton.
mean, we appreciate the fans and everything that they go through. Obviously, we're not seated in the same place as them, and we have a job to do, whether it's home, away, in Oakland, in Sacramento, wherever our careers kind of take us. We don't have the same ability to kind of like fall in love with the team and a city and everything, but you spend time there. A lot of people raise families there. So you get attached to an area and the people and the relationships that you build there. So you certainly empathize with everything that they go through, and that's as a player, that's kind of what you're tasked with is the fans make the game what it is. So appreciating them and the things that they deal with and the things that they feel, and sometimes just having a 30-second conversation with somebody, that's something that might not mean that much to you, but it might be something they talk about for 10 years.
And looking ahead, I mean, now you're in Sacramento. Maybe, or do you like NBA and all that? Do you like basketball?
I mean, I don't mind watching it, but we don't have a team in Pittsburgh, so I was never a big NBA fan. But yeah, I definitely plan to go to a couple games. I actually haven't even been to an NBA game outside of one Phoenix Suns game during spring training a couple years ago.
Pretty.
But yeah, it's an experience, I'm sure. I honestly don't remember that much of it. I think we showed up late and left early, but yeah, I mean, premier athletes, freakishly twitchy, jumping out of a building, all that just feats that even for players like us that are at the highest level in our game, it's just hard to wrap your head around.
Maybe you hit up a Kings game.
Yeah, I was gonna say go catch DeRozan in action.
I'll be there. I'll be there at some point for sure. Can't miss out on that.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or two. And I hopefully if you play in New York this year, either the Mets or the Yankees, hopefully Ian and I will try to go to a game. Hopefully meet up at the in the bullpen or something. Would be cool.
For sure, man.
The season schedules aren't out yet, are they?
They
Okay,
are, yeah. We won't go to City Field, but we'll play the Yankees there. We'll be there each year.
You play
We
the
went
Yanks in the Bronx?
yes.
Yeah, yeah. We'll play them once at home and once on the road. All the American League teams do that. National League teams all play each other once home and away, but then interleague you'll only go once each year. So last year we played the Mets in New York, and this year they'll come to us.
I like sitting in the outfield a lot, so I'm literally always near the opposing bullpen all the time. So I'll try to say hi if I see you.
Yeah, man. Say what's up
Oh,
for sure.
Josh, this is super doable actually. Now that I'm looking at it, they're in New York by us last weekend of June.
Oh,
So without a doubt, we can easily get to that. That's like no problem whatsoever.
we'll
Well,
figure that out. That
It's
would
like it's the weekend right before July 4th. That'll be a pretty fun time.
yeah, yeah.
so
We got a lot of miles between then and now, but yeah, that'd be awesome, guys.
that would be. And thank you very much for coming on. It means a lot. First All Star, a lot of firsts on the podcast here, but it means a lot. And for someone like you to be on here, I mean, this is a dream come true for me. I'm just a kid in college. I love baseball. That's why I run JS Nines, and being able to talk to MLB players, it's a dream come true. So it means a lot, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Definitely, man. Yeah, keep building that platform you got. It's awesome. Obviously, I love seeing it. I love watching your stuff. So I appreciate everything that you do for the game. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much, man. It means a lot.